so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Thoughts for Rent, Realtors Keeping It Real. I am Ireland, and with me is the ever famous
now? Woo!
Jenni McKenna.
I love it. So, Ireland, I thought it would be really fun for our listeners to hear some stories or hear some things that we think are really fun while we're in property management.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
short
the show for you guys. We'll see you next week.
That was it.
That's all right. Keeping it real.
No, quite honestly, there's a lot of really fun things in property management. There's a lot that everybody hears about that's hard and tough and, devastating if you've got a property that got damaged or whatever. But today we want to keep it on the fun side because Ireland and I, there's a lot of really cool things in property management. Ireland's got her things that she loves. I've got things that I love. So today we're going to talk about a few of those things in the business of property management. For anyone out there that's thinking about, hey, I'm a realtor, maybe I want to open up a property management division. Maybe this is something that you can look into. And obviously, we're always here to answer questions or talk about property management if that's something that you want to do. So, Ireland, you go first. What is something fun about property management?
I love hearing stories from vendors, quirky little silly things. I also love looking at photos of properties, vacant or occupied. Like, I really enjoyed just seeing how people live, how people design their houses, certain choices of lighting or furniture or this, that, and whatever. There's a lot of our residents who have animals. And so a lot of times during those photo takings of repairs or visits, you'll actually see the animals in the photos. So you get to see all these cute little animals. So I enjoy that you get to see a slice of life with people, and a home can be a very intimate thing for somebody. And so you're kind of actually getting to see someone's deep part of them by getting little
It's like a window.
Home.
It's a window into their life by our site evaluations or by going over and seeing pictures that were taken from the vendor or whatever. So yeah, it's true. It's a window into their life, but it's also a little bit like spying.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of outside people that really get to come into a property, and we get to do it all the time. So if you are nosy, this is a really good business to be in because you do get to see how they live. You get to see a lot of things about, do they do big TVs in the living room or are they more small TVs? Do they do comfy furniture? Or are they very minimal? Are they in a lot of houses, the kids are actually sleeping on air mattresses on the floor because they want that experience with their children rather than like full on bunk beds and things like that. So yeah, I agree with you. I also find it really fun. I will admit that I'm nosy, and if you ever catch me, sometimes I will just sit in busy areas like Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm, and my enjoyment is watching people walk by and kind of making up stories about what's going on little tidbits that I've heard. So I do like being nosy and going into the properties, but I also love floor plans. I love to see how space is used. I love to find out if this is a Lennar property, they did the observation deck and what that does for, what you could do with that. Don't put a swimming pool up there.
Yes.
We did have that happen.
And
somebody put an inflatable swimming pool up there and then dumped all the water down the side of it. So like observation decks, I love when, kitchens are set up in a way that I can envision family gatherings or fun nights at home. So yeah, I'm nosy about that, and I have a really good memory of floor plans, so I must be a visual person. So that to me is always really fun.
I like that. I enjoy the stories from the vendors because I feel like the vendors have an even bigger slice of life because they're going more often to their property to fix something. I remember a story, one of the first stories that Jenni ever told me before I even started working for the company was about a sewage line backup, and it
Oh.
was a complex. And so there was a main line, and it was all going back up to all of the units. It was a huge clog in the main line. And when the resident called to report it in to Jenni, she thought he was being a little dramatic at the time.
I did.
And the way that she tells the story is that all of a sudden he goes, "Oh my gosh, a fish just came out of my toilet."
Yes.
And what had happened was that somebody else in the complex had to say goodbye to their friend Fido, and it came back up our residence sewer line.
Yes.
Everything got fixed and everything got taken care of. And it's a stressful time when you have repairs. But I think it's stories or moments like that where us, and I think even the residents sometimes, will look back on it, be like, I can't believe that 5 years ago a fish came out of my toilet because of this thing that happened.
That was bad. I really did think he was totally lying. I on the phone, I was like, please don't be so dramatic. There's really can't be a fish coming through your toilet. I was driving to the unit, and yeah, sure enough, that fish had come through the toilet. It was awful.
I think I get a lot of that too, where we ask for photos whenever someone submits a request, and I think sometimes they're being like a little dramatic, and they submit the photo, and I there's a moment, and I go, "Oh, okay, we're gonna get this fixed right away for you." And in the moment, you're obviously like, "I just want to fix it,"
Right?
But then you can go home and you can be like, "Oh my goodness, this just happened." We in most cases where there's any kind of growth, when it gets to a certain degree, and if it's really intense, people actually get mushrooms in their home.
Yes.
And I've gotten that one maybe about 4 or 5 times working here. But every time someone says that, I'm like, pics or it didn't happen. And then they send photos right away. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get this taken care of for you.
There was one just not even 3 weeks ago where they had said mushrooms are growing. They moved a big dresser away from the wall where the water heater was, and we didn't know that the water had been leaking behind that wall. So when they moved the dresser to redecorate their bedroom, there were mushrooms growing, and the mushrooms, when we're not talking like, oh, a little top of a mushroom. This mushroom was like yay big. It had the stem and the mushroom at the top. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How does even that grow in Las Vegas? But I guess it happens. I remember the one where I thought she was being dramatic too. The call came into Ireland, and Ireland called me into her office, and it was a 3-story condo, and we're the middle story. We're in the second level. And for some oddball reason, the whole building's sprinkler system,
just the 3rd story, but the 3rd story sprinkler system
wouldn't stop.
Just was going and going and going.
Yep. And we don't know why still to this day, why it turned on, why it wouldn't stop. So all of the water from the 3rd level was going into our 2nd story level. It was pooling in our 2nd level, and then it was going into the bottom level. Needless to say, it was a complete rebuild of it. Insurance got involved. But when she called you, I thought she was being super dramatic.
And then she sent a video, and it was a rainstorm in her, from her ceiling to her floor. And I said, oh my goodness. Yeah, we're going to figure this out.
Yes. And the cool thing about property management, and this is one of my fun things, I think if that had to be handled by the owner, it would have been awful for them. I mean, it's awful from the standpoint of we had to relocate the resident. We had to deal with insurance. I mean, all that is kind of awful. I'm not going to say that's fun. But if you have to do that on your own, that's really sucky. So when that got done, the owner gave me a huge hug, and she was like, thank you so much for walking me through this and helping me do that. I would have never been able to do that on my own. Yeah. So when an owner and even a resident just really appreciates the fact that you've stepped in and you're helping them in a bad time in their life, it makes you feel good. So I like that. I like that part of property
100%.
Management.
I think another fun thing about property management is that you do get to know your clients for a really long time. Obviously, there are many industries and many places where you have regulars, or you have VIPs, or you have people who have been with you for a really long time. And I think maybe in my mind, I feel like people don't think real estate or property management is like that, because you buy a house or you rent a house and then it's like done. But with property management, you do interact with these people often. You interact whenever there's a repair, when there's payments, when there's a renewal. So you start to remember names and you start to remember phone numbers. And I think that becomes really fun in any kind of industry that has clients continuously calling you or reaching out to you is really fun. But it's nice because we have 3 different kinds. We have the owners, we have the vendors, and we have the residents. And so you get to keep track of a lot of people, and the amount of people who I could just look at their phone number and know that it's them simply just from seeing
Their
that
phone
phone
number.
number all the time.
Yep.
It's nice because it makes you feel like you actually are forming that relationship, which I think some people think that you don't form a relationship, but I think that that's still happening.
I've always said that real estate is like courting. In real estate, you start. Let's just use a buyer example. You start with a buyer, you find a house, you go through escrow, you close escrow. Buyer's so happy, buyer moves into the house. That's your courting. You see all the great stuff because it's like within 16 to 90 days. And then hopefully if you're a good real estate agent, you keep up that relationship. But still it's just in that 90-day period. But property management is a marriage.
Yeah.
Because when you get into a good property management situation, we start to know their kids. We start to know situations that are going on in their life. If they've been diagnosed with cancer, how their cancer treatments are going. We, new marriages, divorces, all of that we're integral in all of that. And so we really are like a marriage. We're long-term. We are not just that quick 60, 90-day hit. Yeah. We are a long time. So I've always thought that was fun. I like getting to know and be in relationship with clients long term.
Yeah.
I think
leases and PMAs from 2009, 2010, 2011.
We had 2011 where we did it by fax. We weren't even doing it by email. And we actually had to redo that property management agreement because when the fax came over, page 1 and page 2 were on top of each other. We didn't notice it in 2011, but we had to reorganize the file for a new resident. And that's when we were like, oh my gosh, 2011 fax. We better get a new property management agreement on this.
Because the PMA was faxed in 2011, and then that resident stayed in there all the way until just this year. So they were a resident of that unit for 15 years.
Yep.
And then they just moved out. We just made a new file. We just found out that happened. But yeah, even the resident, they'll stay. I'll see files where the resident's been there since 2012, 2013, and they'll say every year, I want to stay. So that's always nice too. You start to form that bond.
Well, and I just, today I saw one of our residents that comes in every time to pay her rent. She could pay her rent online. She could mail her rent, but she comes in to say hi. She really thinks of us as a family. We think of her as kind of our family. She's our tribe. That's our tribe. We all have the same beliefs and the same thoughts, and we've just gotten really close. And so, yeah, I like that part of it. Relationships in property management are definitely much stronger than what I experienced when I was just a real estate agent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when you get to work in leasing, like renewals, new leases, I think you kind of you luck out a little bit because obviously when you give people the good news that they've been approved or that they're getting to renew again, that's a really exciting time for them. I have a core memory where it was like maybe 10 minutes after the office had closed. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to call her just to get this out of the way. And then I called her. And when I told her that she was approved, she had started crying. And she said, I just left visiting my mom's grave. I left her some flowers and I said a little prayer. And I just prayed that whatever had to happen happened in life to figure things out. And she's like, I literally just walked out of the funeral center and took your call. And I was like, it's moments like that. It's not every time, obviously. Some people are just like, get me in. But when people are willing to kind of indulge in things of that nature, I always really appreciate it because you'll have a little story like that or you'll have a little moment like that. And it feels very fun and rewarding, and it makes up for some of the craziness. It makes up for all the mushrooms that grow in people's bathroom.
And you know what? I love that too. And so what I do is whenever I'm in the office and there's a resident that's coming in to pick up keys, I have our resident relationship manager come and grab me. And if I'm available, I always like to come in, and I come in the door and I always go, are we popping the champagne because we're moving into a new property? And the reactions that I get from most of the residents are, we are so excited about moving in. You have no idea. The kids have already picked out their room. We can imagine Christmas and where the tree is going to be in this living room. It's really opens her eyes to the fact that sometimes, we just think we're handing keys to somebody and they're walking off. But we're giving them a property. Like, this is where they're going to raise their kids, where they're going to have memories, where photos are going to be taken, where Sunday dinners are. It's also going to be where maybe some hardships are, and they need that stability to get through some of those hardships. So I love that aspect of property management, and we get to see it. Our owners, unfortunately, don't get to see that. We get to see that when we hand them their key and say, congratulations.
100%. I get a lot of reach outs in November from parents that say, hey, we're thinking about maybe doing a dog for Christmas, and we just want to get approval first. So there's always an influx in requests, and I always do my best to get them approved because we're pet lovers over here. But whenever I can email back and say, you're good to get the dog for Christmas, or you're good to get the dog for the birthday, that's always
fun.
A fun win to get to celebrate.
Yeah.
I really enjoy a lot of resident interactions. I also enjoy a lot of owner interactions. I think that there are times where there might be a third entity that's causing drama. And I always feel like it's either HOA or home warranties. Like, the owner and us are doing the best to figure it out, and they're just in the way, causing problems that don't need to happen. And I always love when we can get on like a three-way phone call and we're talking to like an HOA rep or a home warranty rep, and they're just, I don't know, they're just giving you a story to walk home to tell your family about. And then that third party will kind of finish the phone call, and then there'll be like a moment of silence with just myself and the owner. And then one of us, or maybe both of us at the same time, will be like, that was just the craziest thing that ever happened, right? I'm like, yeah, no, that was a lot for a trash can or for, just the smallest thing. And I do like being able to kind of have that brief moment of like solidarity with an owner or a resident or even a vendor where we're like, did that phone call just happen?
Was that real, or was I being punked? Is there a camera somewhere in here? Yeah, we've had some fun ones when it comes to those third parties. HOA definitely top of list.
Yeah,
top of list on that one.
I just had one where I transferred utilities, and they were just making it so hard. And then the utility person finally, we got it transferred, and they ended the phone call, and even the resident was like, did they make that a lot harder than they needed it to be? And I was like, no, they definitely did, but it's okay. We got this. And so those moments of, I guess it's a lot of our answers have just been community. A lot of our answers have just been about tribe and like just having that person to person in touch. We always say boots on the ground. And I think
boots on the ground, heart in the community. That's what I really, really believe in.
And and I think that belief exists because that's also where the fun exists. Mm-hmm. So if you have the fun because you have the community and you have the tribe and you have all of those moments, you also have to make sure that you create those moments by being in your community.
And I also like what you can create amongst your team. So McKenna Property Management, we have 13 team members, and the team members themselves make me laugh sometimes. I mean, we will hear, because most of all of us have private offices with a door that we leave open. And at different parts of the office, I will hear a story that just happened that will just crack me up. And then overhear something else, what did Amanda just end up hearing from the HOA? Or, why are we not renewing the lease with that? Because they have an iguana in the property that just, went loose or whatever. So it's one of those things that, because we're all in property management and we all are a team, that makes me like coming to work too. Yeah. And I don't know if you get that a lot with other jobs, because I don't know, maybe you do. I've been a professional ice skater, which was really fun. That was a fun thing. Then I got into real estate. I enjoyed working with my dad and then transitioned right into property management. But I really think that you can have such a good, close team under property management with a bunch of different personalities and really enjoy your workday. Even if there's crap going on everywhere that property management sometimes delivers, you can still really enjoy your day with surrounding your people that are all thinking the same thing and have the same goals.
100%. There'll be moments where I'll get a call from someone and they'll say, "Can you just read this text message I just got and like tell me if I'm reading this wrong?" And then I'll be like, "I'm on my way," and we'll run over. But no, I think the same thing. I think my favorite thing about property management is that you never go to a dinner party without a story. And I think a lot of people find it very interesting because, again, it is homes. So it's a very intimate part of people's lives. And people want to hear if what they're going through is like normal or if it's crazy. And so it's just, you always have the opportunity to have a conversation. And I think for two people who love to hear themselves talk, myself and Jenni,
Could
it's
that
always
be
good.
us? Could that be us on our podcast right now that we're doing?
It might be.
Well, speaking of like dinner parties and stuff, yeah, absolutely. I feel like sometimes I'm overbearing on the stories, like I am talking too much, but it's not because I'm offering it. It's they're asking me questions.
Yeah.
What's the funniest thing you've walked into? What is the strangest thing you've ever seen? Why did you handle it this way? Why did the roof cave in? Like there's so many parts that in my mind with the course of the last 20 years of different things that we've experienced. And I think that is interesting to people. So yeah, I do find that I'm usually talking a lot at dinner parties, and not because I necessarily want to, but because I think they find it very interesting.
Now just imagine going to a dinner party with like 4 or 5 realtors and property managers and everyone's just talking at the same time about some crazy story.
Yep. The other thing I really love is because I have been doing this for 20 years and I've got a longevity of some of our owners that have owned properties for so long, I love it when they put their property on the market. I don't love it that we lose their account, but I love it when they put their property on the market and they walk away with like $300,000 in equity, in just cash. And the things that they're doing with that, one owner was telling me, "Oh, Jenni, I've loved you managing my property. And if it wasn't for you doing such a great job, I wouldn't be able to throw the wedding that I wanted to throw for my daughter." And she sold the property so that she could start. She gave her daughter a very good start to her life. And then also an amazing wedding for her daughter. So being able to be the facilitator or, to help them keep that investment so that it can continue to grow as a savings account and then sell that property and then they have that lump sum money to where they can do whatever they want with it makes me feel really good.
Yeah. I have a lot of conversations with owners, or I see a lot of conversations with owners that happen where they say, "Yeah, we're not going to continue the lease and we're going to take the property back because our daughter's moving in or our son's moving in, or I'm going to move my mom in who is in hospice," or whatever the case. Also being able to see these owners take care of their family because of the choices that they've made to own real estate and take some investing in real estate. It's sad to see the property go from the portfolio always, but when that's the reason, it's hard not to feel really like that's a good thing for that family, and that without that, they wouldn't be able to start their lives, or they wouldn't be able to end their lives in a very stress-free, positive environment.
It gives you so many opportunities, whether it's family moving in, just selling it for the equity base, whatever. Real estate gives you those opportunities, which is awesome. Yeah. I love it when an owner calls me because they may live somewhere else in the United States, but they trust my opinion enough that they just want to run an idea by me. And I love that. You guys have probably already heard on the podcast that I'm very open, very transparent. I speak my mind with whatever it is, whether it gets me in trouble or not. And so to have somebody respect my opinion and want to kind of get my blessing on an idea that they're doing somewhere else, not even here in Southern Nevada, that always makes me feel really good too. So that's a fun part of my job.
Absolutely. There's a lot of fun things. See, people may say that property management is tough, but people also say that marriages are tough. Yeah. But there's also fun parts in property management, just like there's fun parts in marriages.
Well, Ireland, the rumor is, and I've heard it many times, property management is the armpit of real estate.
Yes.
I don't think it really is. Do you think it is?
No, I don't think so. I mean, granted, I will say I went straight into property management. So I don't have the same transitional timeline that you had because you did it for 3, 4, 5 years.
I did it from 1993 to 2005, just real estate.
Yeah,
and then
so-
2005 to today, property
So you
management.
were in real estate for over 10 years and then transferred over. I came straight here. So I sometimes look at all the contracts and I don't know. When I look at real estate, I think to myself, that sounds hideous because that's a lot of money and that's a lot of inspections and that's a lot of contracts and that's a lot of other people
Liability.
involved and that's like a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
And so then I get to come here and I'm like, this feels better. We're department based. We're not doing like everything that has to do with the sale. We're just focusing on our each departments. But I don't think it's the armpit. But I also don't have as much experience in sales.
Well, when I was in real estate, one of the things about real estate, always worked weekends, always had, I mean, this is like big brick phones. Remember, this is like the big cellular phones where you didn't really want to be calling on the cell phone because every minute was like $1.10. So things did, progress when I was in real estate. But I remember never feeling like I was truly off. I never felt like I could really be off because my client might need me for something. What I love about property management is you can schedule your days. Like we're really a Monday through Friday company. And then we have emergency, line if you need to, but really only for emergencies. And one person deals with it, not everybody. So I feel like my life is much more fulfilled being in a situation where I could control my time a little bit better. So property management controls my time a little bit better. I can control my time a little bit better. And you know what else property management does that real estate's not so good at? Real estate is feast or famine. Yeah. You're either selling a lot of houses and you are on top of the world and you are thinking, I'm going to be able to pay my bills and I love it. Let's go on vacation. And then if everything sells in your portfolio, your listings are all gone and you don't have any buyers, you go down to feast and then it's really scary and really hard.
Yeah.
But with property management,
there's some consistency.
Yeah, because it's management fees every month. So once you get enough accounts that you can cover the, overhead and the bills that come in every month, now you actually are a profitable company that you can gauge the profits on a monthly basis. So I really, really love that aspect of it.
No, I agree. I'm trying to think if there's like an analogy. If it's not the armpit, then what is it?
But that's out there that says every time I introduce myself and I'm like in any kind of real estate conference, I'll shake their hand and I'll be like, yep, I'm Jenni McKenna and I'm owner broker of McKenna Property Management. And the real estate agent goes, oh, the armpit of real estate. I must have heard that a minimum of 50 times. And you know what I always say? I just throw a little deodorant on and it's no problem. I don't mind it. I think it's great.
I think a lot of people who maybe say that too are people who might still be in real estate and managing at the same time, which you're very well within your right to do. There's no issue with that. But it's like they're doing sales and they're also taking care of the monthly needs of their property management portfolio. And I think that is very hard because they're so different. And that's exactly what I'm saying is like, I don't do sales a lot for that exact reason. They're very different. And so I think when someone's trying to have like the best of both worlds in that situation, they're gonna overwhelm themselves. And so that's why it's nice to be this is our portfolio. This is what we do. Sales is handled by the sales professional rather than trying to mix and match both. I feel like that can be really hard. I've heard people who are mainly in property management and they're just doing a sale for a family member. And even that, just that one singular sale is like really hard on them.
Yep.
And so I think that's why people are like, oh, the armpit is because they're trying to do both. But if you just hyper focus on one or the other, then I think you'll find a lot of fun in both. But you'll find the fun in property management that you might not find before.
I really do like doing it. I really am passionate about it. It brings me a smile. I am so glad that my dad challenged me to get into property management. He actually challenged me as a joke. We did a lot of our listings together, so we would drive to the appointment when we were just selling real estate as a father-daughter team. And one time he just said, well, you should just be lucky you're not in property management. And I go, why? What's wrong with property management? It's the armpit of real estate. And I said, Dad, I think I would really like property management. And he goes, oh yeah, go try it. Let's see if you'd really like it. And look
Like,
at
here
us
I
now.
am.
Yeah. So I am just glad that my dad kind of challenged me to do it because it really is fun. I've been able to bring my daughter into it. My son actually works in the company as well with some of the most amazing other people that I have met. So, well, anyways, that's our show for today.
Yeah.
We got to bring the good parts and the fun parts of property management. If you have enjoyed this and you got something from it, make sure to subscribe or share our episode with somebody. We absolutely want to keep our following going. We'd like to come join our McKenna
Come join
Property
the tribe.
Management tribe.
Boots on the ground.
That's right. Boots on the ground, heart in the community. We take the headache
Out of real estate.
property
Or out of
management.
property management. Not real
Yeah.
estate.
We take the headache out of property management. We're like the aspirin for that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we will be here next week. We appreciate you, and hopefully you'll listen in.
Oh, there you go. Sound good? Okay, good. I'll pass over to Ireland. Here you go, Ken.
Thanks, Pops.